Hey guys, we're starting for real maybe in 10 minutes. Just want to give people time to roll on in. So, hold on. I'm going to try to do just getting things aligned. Probably somewhere around here. So you've got time to go grab a drink, some popcorn. This is going to be really intense. I mean, like, we may have never done before. I have some very specific things I want to talk about, and it's extremely important. And it's going to require us to have a lot of deep dive discussion and start moving directionally toward a solution. There is no solution, but I think there's a direction, and we need to discuss this. But so you've got another 10 minutes or so to grab stuff, so feel free to ping all your friends, have them join, and rally the troops. I've pinged the Discord, they know. And so we'll give people a few minutes to roll on in. Great question, Sean. I'm not sure what chat is best. For this one, I'm going to try to center things so you'll be able to see everything in this single vertical alignment. I'm doing that so all the Instagram and TikTokers can see. I think maybe the best chat is the chat that you're on right now, the Restream chat. But I'm going to try to keep Discord open. And for Discord, maybe we'll hop on Goju's Hangout for any active discussion. Wow, there's a lot of... I missed a lot of stuff. All right, cool. So we'll just drop this here and say... Yeah, this is really serious. And the stuff that I was warning about with AI Takeover is happening. And it's not just happening in a minor way, it's happening at scale. It's happening far worse than I had anticipated. We're gonna look at how it's happening, and then we're gonna get into how you can protect yourself. That's the most important thing. You need to protect yourself first. I'll explain how to do that. Then I want to talk about how we can try to actually solve this problem. And it's a doozy. And I don't actually have a solution. I have the beginning of solutions, and I have ways to help make things better. But to the best of my knowledge, there is no solution. No one has a solution. And that's part of the reason why this is going so catastrophically wrong. But we'll get into all those details in 10 minutes when we actually start. So my recommendation is sit tight, get yourself comfortable, get the right setup so you can deeply pay attention. This is going to be an extremely important live stream. I'm not kidding. I'm not trying to hype this. I'm not trying to exaggerate. I don't care about the clicks. What we're going to talk about here is critically important, And I'm going to try to keep it relatively short because as soon as we finish, I'm going to do post-production on the live stream, and I'm going to blast it out into social media because everybody has to be aware of this. And I want to thank Justin Officer, who I see in the chat over here. Justin is the one that made me aware of this morning or yesterday, I'm not sure, but I saw his pings in my DM this morning, and I literally stopped in my tracks, stopped everything I was doing, and switched to this. That's how important this is. So, 10 minutes, and we're going to get deep into it. So, call your friends, tell them to hop on board. Use the bathroom now so you don't have to miss stuff once we get deep into it, and all the things. Oh, and yeah, I've got the music rolling just to keep you guys rocking and rolling. Oh, and while we wait, as some of you know, I created this secondary experimental channel, Goju Tech, on YouTube. And if you like what you're seeing, it would, I don't want to get into the details of, one, we are on YouTube, Kick, Twitch, and TikTok. So if you go to YouTube and go to Goju Tech Talk, you'll see that we're live there. That's where a lot of the regulars hang out, and then you're going to get the full screen experience, so you get to see everything that's on my screen. But if you need to stay on Instagram or TikTok, then I'll try to make that work there as well. Anyway, so for those of you that are supportive of Goju Tech Talk and all the stuff we're talking about, I created this second experimental channel on YouTube yesterday. I don't want to get into the details of its purpose, but if you are so inclined, I would love to have you click on this link and sub. The most important thing is getting YouTube's algorithm to get realigned. Is for the main channel on YouTube, it is often Never Neverland, which sucks. And it's not often Never Neverland for Insta, for TikTok, for Facebook, for X, but it is misaligned for our YouTube channel. And so your subscription, the free subscription, I'm not asking for a paid membership, you subbing it will help the algorithm, because I know that all of you that are on the live stream, you care about these things, and then that informs the algorithm that people like you should be targeted for Goju Trek. And then if this works out the way that I think it might, what will happen is Goju Trek will be our primary channel, and we will shut down this thing. And yes, I know we have 3.2 million followers and all that's awesome, but I think, if I'm being totally honest, I think 90% of those are bots. And those bots are screwing the algorithm. And I don't really care about fancy numbers. I care about like meaningful communication with people. And so we have that on Insta. We have that on TikTok. We have that on Discord. We do not have that on this channel. So that's my hope. So anyway, I see 3 of you have already subbed it. 4 of you have already subbed it. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It means a lot to me. And just subbing it, even if you don't watch anything, that's actually sufficient. Because again, that will realign the algorithm so it targets people like you, and then it will actually broadcast the VODs and the live streams to the right audience, rather than whoever the heck it is broadcasting it to right now, which is completely ineffective, right? Let me just give you a quick example. Is we do the same clips on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. They're identical. What we see is that Instagram and TikTok, those clips will often go viral. And by viral, I mean 100,000 views, 500,000 views, thousands of likes, hundreds of comments. So it works. The algorithm is correct on Insta and on TikTok. The same clip, even with an audience of 3.2 million people on YouTube, at most it gets 2,000 views. No comments, and like 10 likes. So the clip's good. The algorithm is effed. So we're going to fix it. And that's what Goju Tech is about. And we can follow its progress daily. Just started yesterday. We already have 12. Actually, if I do the refresh here, we should see it live update itself, assuming my system worked correctly. Yeah, there we go. I just updated. Anyway, this may sound a little bit crazy, like, oh my gosh, Goju's gonna recreate his YouTube channel where he has like 3 million followers and do it again. Yeah, 100% I'm gonna do it. And that's because, one, this actually really matters to me, and two, like, if you look at the growth on Insta, look at this growth. And again, I don't like care about the number so much. I just care about getting connected to the right people. But regrowing it is going to be easy breezy. The growth on Insta, we've grown 55% just this month. We literally have almost doubled the Instagram channel size in 1 month. So if you assume the doubling philosophy, right? If we just get the algorithm aligned, then the doubling philosophy can kick in. And then a very short period of time, not only will we essentially have the same followers, we'll have the right group of people. And that's the most important thing to me. Like, I literally don't even care. YouTube Trek could be 1% the size of this, but if it has the right group of people, I'm super happy. Anyway, fun experiment. All right, I'm gonna do a quick bio break, and we'll officially start in 5 minutes. And if you're curious about what we're going to talk about, this is what we're going to talk about right here. AI Takeover. We'll watch the clip that Justin Officer sent. We'll explain how this is AI Takeover. We're going to discuss the conceptual differences in security analysis for rules-based and stat-based systems. And then we're going to try, and I'm going to show you a slide from my class on how this is different. And then we're going to spend some time on Goju's Takeover. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to run to a bio myself. I'll be right back. Labyrinth. What's going on, brother? I feel like we were just hanging out 12 hours ago. I'm pretty damn sure we were. Hey, Yui. Hey, Juan, did you get all sorted? Are you on one of the bigger live streams? Like YouTube, Twitch, Kick? And if you drop a comment on the whatever one you're on, I'll see it in this other chat box. One quick other shout out is we have a Discord where we actively talk about all these things, and we are talking quite a bit about AI takeover, vibe corruption, very complicated topics that are real, that, hey Dino, that we're trying to get in front of and help course correct, since big tech seems pretty like clueless about this. Either, I don't know, I guess I won't even go there. I won't even try to understand what their motivations are, but they clearly have no plan to fix this stuff, so we're gonna do it ourselves. We'll figure out how to fix it. And I think, as I said before, my real plan with GTT is, it's not a social media thing. We're gonna become the next Linux Foundation. That's what we're really doing, is we're building a hardcore group of some of the leading technologists, scientists, engineers across the world that deeply care about things. We have a central place for us to hang out and talk about stuff, and we're creating a movement that supports the advancement of technology in a very real way, but also does it with a lot of integrity and with decency and without greed being the primary factor. That's maybe the most important thing. And look, we all need to eat, so sure, but what you make doesn't need to be billions of dollars in order to feed yourself. And we're never gonna do that. Including for me, I don't need $1 billion. I don't want $1 billion. I just want a team of hardcore people that want to work on technology to make the world a better place. Like, that's been my life purpose for the last 20 years. That's why I ran a research lab at Intel, and I was at Intel as a research scientist for like 12 years. That's why I teach at the university. I've been teaching there and doing research there for the last 5 years. And before that, University of Pennsylvania, right? Like, so the point is, like, I actually deeply care about this stuff. And I know that many of you, if you're on GTT, I know that you do too. And collectively, there's power in numbers that we don't need to have all the money if we have all the people. And the people deeply care. And evidence of that is the Linux Foundation. Linux Foundation doesn't have all the money in the world, but they have the people. They have the hearts and the minds of the right people, and that is sufficient to affect change. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're actually doing with GTT. Okay. So yeah, join the Discord. It's freaking awesome. And then you'll stay up to date on everything that's going on all the time. Alrighty. Let's actually get into this. So in order to start explaining this, we need to first look at... hold on, let me take a quick poll. In the chats, whatever chat you're in, drop what are the main security risks of local models, or are they much more secure than ChatGPT? Keanu is a great question. Hold on, let me copy this. Can I copy this? The fuck? Hold on, did it copy it? Sweet. Alright. It did. Hold on. Why are these... Give me 1 second, guys. Okay. Alright. We'll put this in here. Yeah, so Keanu, this is a great question. We're going to get deep into that. So we'll save that in my little text box, but let's start with AI Takeover. Oh, sorry, the one question. A real quick kind of show of hands. Drop a 1 in the chat if you want the background music that's playing right now from Dream Clinic to continue to play. Drop a 0 in the chat if you want that off. And the majority wins. So if I see more 1s, it stays on. If I see more 0s, I turn it off. You guys call the shots. There we go. Okay, this thing's fixed now. Cool. Yeah, and now you get to see how this is kind of my collab coding is what I just did is I did basically a live update to the control center, and this is my interaction space for my AI. And oh, that's a good call. I'm down with that, Michael. Oh, hold on. I need this volume to be very loud because we're going to watch something else, but I can turn the volume for YouTube down. Let me do that. Okay. There we go. Volume is down. Great call, Michael. All right. I see. Yeah. That's kind of how I feel about it too, Gabs. And great to see you, Gabs. Lori. Usual suspects. Awesome to have you guys. All right. Let's now first get a quick refresher of AI Takeover. So we're all on the same page. Substack. And I'll drop the link of this article in both of the chats. So if you aren't a sub for the Substack, feel free to sub it or not. I kind of don't really care about the Substack. I just use it as a mechanism to write stuff down and then feed it to the real stuff. All right, so in this article I wrote, I don't know, a month ago. I wrote this based on what I was seeing with Claude Code and the Claude Code leak and how MCP, sorry, I got distracted here for a second. MCP Nest, bro, oh my gosh, you rock, man. This is so legit. Hold on, let me show you. This guy is such a baller. I'm gonna show you what he just posted. This is on our Discord, and he's commenting how he's locked in for our live stream. Check his setup out. And so here he's got, what is this? He's watching some stuff here, but then he's got our live stream playing on his huge TV back here. Freaking awesome, bro. Yeah, you are a baller. By the way, really awesome setup, man. I'm super jealous. This looks like the man cave that I've always dreamed about. Ricardo, yeah. Thanks, brother. All right, cool. All right, so back to AI Takeover. When I wrote this article, I was principally just thinking about Claude Code, and I want to make it super clear that what we're talking about with the things that are happening with AI, this is the frontier of science. All right? And I don't mean this like as a flex or anything, but this is what I do. Like, I'm more of a researcher and a scientist than I am an engineer. I still engineer things, right? I did engineering for 20 plus years, and I love writing code, but at Merly, for example, I'm the chief scientist. I'm not the chief engineer. And that's because I think I'm just better at doing science than engineering. So I'm sharing this because when you're doing science and you're on the frontiers of science, things are unknown. All right? It's unknown. We don't know the stuff. It's very different than engineering. Engineering is, and by the way, I don't mean this as any disrespect to any engineers. Engineers are some of the most amazing people in the world, and I still am one, but there's a very, very specific distinction between being an engineer and being a scientist. Engineering is principally about solving a problem that you know can be solved with mechanisms that have already been discovered. That's what engineering is. Research is working on a problem that you don't necessarily know that you can solve. There may not be a known solution, and you're trying to figure out how to solve it, but what you're proposing may not work. And that's the fundamental difference between research and engineering. I'm sharing this because I do research principally, and on the frontiers of research, I am constantly making speculations about where things are headed, and I don't always get it right. I'm gonna get it wrong a lot. And my goal with the research that I'm doing is just to be directionally correct. I'm just trying to go down the right direction, and precisional correctness, I will be off on this all the time. But the direction will be right, and then as we learn more, what we'll do is we will iteratively refine the solution to make it better. But the most important thing that you really need to understand about research and science is fundamentally the direction must be correct. If the direction is wrong, it doesn't matter how much precisional correctness you have, you're going in the wrong direction. For example, I believe very strongly that language models, if used in complete isolation, are absolutely the wrong direction. It's the wrong direction. And I'm not alone with my thinking. I think many other experts in neural networks have said very similar things, and I've talked deeply about how shouldn't we be paying attention when all the experts of a field that have dedicated their life to researching that field are saying, hey guys, actually that's the wrong direction, we need to go this way. So when we created Merly and what I teach at the university and the lab that I was running at Intel, we were building machine programming systems that were hybrid. They're using both rules-based approaches and stats-based approaches. Or in the stats-based approach, it's using stochastic probabilistic systems and deterministic probabilistic systems. So any AI system, any machine learning system is by definition a probabilistic system, but they can be stochastic or deterministic. All right, let me actually show you something. Well, I posted this. Maybe another reason why you should hop on the Discord is we get deep into the weeds. Was it this one? Sorry, I'm just trying to be a little lazy here to find this thing that I wrote that we can. Does anybody know, does Discord have a thing that you can click on that shows you all the comments that you've made? Like just the things you've... Okay, hold on, let's see. Posts by Goju. Wonder if that works. Okay, that didn't work. How about I do this? Okay, here we go. Alright, sweet, I found it. Let's look at this. This is going to make a lot of sense in terms of understanding the AI takeover. Alright. And I want to be clear. Almost everybody gets this wrong. Almost everybody gets this wrong. Because it's very confusing. There's a lot of people that are asserting expertise in AI and ML that aren't. And even for a very long time, I saw people saying that like neural networks were deterministic AIs, which is absolutely fundamentally wrong. It's completely baseless. That is not correct. And so thankfully, we have had some course correction, but there's still a lot of confusion. And I want to explain something that is extremely important, because this is how I think we can start to address some of the AI takeover. This is going to take a while to explain because there's many steps and this is very complicated, but kind of just, I'm going to take it slow so everybody, I think, gets brought along and it all makes sense. So the first thing that you need to understand, I think, is that all machine learning systems are probabilistic. If it's not probabilistic, it's not a machine learning system. And the reason for this is that machine learning systems learn from sampled data, which is a subset of a larger global body of data that's potentially unbounded. And therefore, any assessments or determinations that the ML system makes is probabilistic based on the data that it learned from. So it starts with this sample of data, and then it learns from that and says, okay, now you just gave me something new. I have a probability assessment of the likelihood of the answer of this based on the data that I learned, right? So it's all machine learning systems are probabilistic. It's not possible to build an ML system that is formal, fully formal. So there's probability, right? Hopefully this makes sense. And so, like, for example, let's just say you're trying to build a machine learning system that can determine if a person is a man or a woman, and you're going to do it based entirely on height. So you take a sample of women, you take a sample of men, and you just look at the height, and you calculate averages and stuff. And then from that, you have learned something. Then you're given a whole bunch of new people, and then based on the height, you say, that's a woman, that's a man, right? That is a probabilistic system because the probability of you being right is based on the sample data that you trained on. Okay. So every single ML system in the world is probabilistic. Now, after that, you can have ML systems that are probabilistic and stochastic, and you can have ML systems that are probabilistic and deterministic. This is part of where people get very confused, is they think that probability and stochasticity are the same. They are not. So they assume that any ML system, because it is probabilistic, it must be stochastic. It does not need to be. That's factually inaccurate. You can build probabilistic and deterministic systems. And what this means is that basically when you are learning from the data or you're performing inference, the results of the training, or refinition, as I call it, or the inference, or utility, as I call it, those answers are always the same. They will always be the same. It doesn't matter. As long as you're given the same amount of data, the results that you get from training the model or the results from performing utility will always tell you the same answer. The most important piece, as we've talked about in one of the live streams a few days ago, is that if the training part is not deterministic, iterative refinement becomes the bottleneck. And it doesn't matter how awesome the AI performs, it will be a flash in the pan. Because you need to think like a scientist, right? Think like a scientist. It doesn't matter how good the technology is today. It matters how much we can grow the technology and the science over the next 100 years, 200 years, millennia, right? That's why iterative refinement is the most important quality for, at least in my mind, for any scientific advancement. And if the AI is stochastic, then the iterative refinement becomes a problem. Okay. Hold on one second. Let me... Oh, you know what I can do? I think the volume might have been right for you guys, but for me, the volume was too low. So, like, I was losing my epic battle music. If I turn my volume up from here, it doesn't turn up for you guys. Okay, cool. All right, so let me just do a quick check for the audience before we move on this. Is the volume too loud? Okay, so let me rephrase this question. If the volume is perfect, drop a 1 in the chat. If the volume is too loud, drop a 0 in the chat. If the volume is too quiet, drop a 2 in the chat. Because basically, so the 0s, you're telling me to turn the volume down. The 2s, you're telling me to turn the volume up. And a 1 is Goldilocks. Meg has a question. Would you say the latter speaks with more certainty despite result finding being lateral? So Meg, I don't fully understand what you're asking. Can you explain this maybe with different words? I think you're asking something important here, but I'm not totally grokking it. Okay, cool. Volume's perfect. Volume's great. We'll leave the volume alone. And if at any point in the stream, it's very helpful if you guys flag me down and say, yo, Goju, something's broken. All right, so this piece is very important. This piece is extremely important for AI takeover and why it's happening. All right, so lock this away into your head. Basically, there's 2 ways to build ML systems: stochastic, deterministic. And keep in mind, any ML system that has any kind of stochasticity, any kind, it is stochastic. For it to be deterministic, it must be completely deterministic. And as I explained in the diff white paper, what that really means is that it has to be deterministic in 2 fundamental things. Refinition must be fully deterministic, and utility must be fully deterministic. It has to be. If either of those even has like a 1% amount of stochasticity, the system is stochastic and it's not a diff system. It's certainly not a deterministic system. What refinition is? Refinition is the definition and the training of the model initially, including iterative refinement, which is often known as, today with the neural network systems, it is supervised fine-tuning and things like that, or reinforcement learning. That's what refinition is. Utility is like inference with one additional change. And this is why I don't call it inference, I call it utility. What utility is when you reference, when you call into an ML model to get an answer with a utility system, and diff systems perform utility, not inference. It allows the ML model to say, I will not answer that. It's a fundamental departure from inference that's done today. The neural networks that we have today, they perform inference and they must give you an answer. If you give it an input, it must give you an answer, and that is, in my mind, a fundamental flaw of the science. And the way to think about it is, just think about division. Division works for essentially all numbers except 0. If you try to ask a calculator to give you an answer for division by 0, it tells you this can't be done. It doesn't try to answer it. It tells you that it's not a number. Machine learning systems, especially neural networks, do not have the option to say, I can't answer this. This is part of the reason why they're going sideways, is they always try to answer and they shouldn't. With diff systems, because they perform utility, diff systems can opt out and say, I can't answer this. And they will literally say, nope. Won't give you something because it's not possible for me to give you this answer. Anyway, all right, we have enough background on this. Now let's go back to AI Takeover. In this article, Substack, I explained AI Takeover, and I basically, the key thing is that an AI Takeover event is basically this. It's that a so you're asking if I can advise you about uncensored LLMs. We're going to get into that. The short answer that I can give you right now, and this applies to everybody unless you are like a frontier scientist and leading expert in AI. I'm serious, this applies to everybody. Even the badass engineers that are part of GTT, that you're a super engineer but maybe you don't deeply understand ML. Here is my guidance. Do not download any language model. Not right now. The hackers have figured out AI Takeover, and it's happening, and they are infecting the models at a global scale, and there is no way for us to stop it. The reason why there's no way for us to stop it is we do not understand neural networks. We do not understand these models. So we can't tell if they have been corrupted. There's no way to determine this. So what Hugging Face, for example, could do is they could just not let anyone download models. But do you think Hugging Face is going to do that? Like, think about it from Hugging Face's perspective. 99% of the models are safe. 1% of the models are malicious. And it doesn't really affect Hugging Face because they're not using the models, they're just hosting them. So what are they going to do? They're basically going to have all of you And I don't mean this to pick on Hugging Face. I'm just saying, like, this is it's an unfortunate business practice, but basically they're going to use all of you as guinea pigs. They're going to have you get infected from the model and then report it, and then they're going to block the model once someone else figures out that the models have been hacked. That's what's happening right now, because that's the only way really that it can be done. There is no security metric in place, maybe except for diff, that can even do security analysis on a model. It can't be done. So there's not like, so just to be clear, it isn't like Hugging Face is doing this to be malicious or bad actors. They cannot tell if a model has been infected, if a model has had an AI takeover, right? And that's really what we need to talk about, is how to actually figure out how to reason about a model and determine if it's been infected and does malicious things. And this is extremely challenging, principally because language models are stochastic machines, and also because they're not interpretable. It's much, much easier to tell if something has a security vulnerability or malicious code or whatever in a system like diff or in software code, because you just look for the pattern, right? You know what the bug looks like, you know what the hack looks like, you just scan the code, and you're like, oh, there it is, and then you add it to your little list of things, and then anytime anybody wants to publish this code, you do the security scan on it, and you're like, oh no, you have this bad pattern, nope, not going to let you publish this, right? That does not exist for AI today. There is no analog to this. Nothing. Right? So, again, I'm going to say it one more time. If you want to be safe, and trust me, I mean, my strong recommendation is you do not download any model until we have time to think about this and figure this out, because the moment you get hacked, your life is going to suck in a massive way. I mean, yeah, awesome. Yes, all right, so this goes back to sandboxing. And sorry, I'm supposed to do the thing for Hostinger to sandbox, but it just further emphasizes how critical sandboxing is. That is the approach that you should use to move forward. But I'm not even recommending that until I get the concrete explanation of how to properly sandbox. So for the moment, my recommendation is just everybody chill and pause, take a breather, don't touch the downloaded AIs for a moment. And as far as the big tech AIs, interestingly enough, those are likely safer. I want to be clear, safer does not mean safe. And the reason why those are safer is that no matter what the company is, OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, all that stuff, their goal is not to hack you or for you to be hacked. Their agenda is just to make money off of you. It's not to take over your life and steal all your stuff. That's not what they're trying to do. So they're going to do their best to make sure that these types of things are not happening in their models, right? But it doesn't mean that they're going to get it right. It just means they're going to try their best. Whereas with the downloadable models, especially because hackers have figured out how to do the AI takeover now, it's Russian roulette, guys. It is literally Russian roulette, and I strongly recommend you do not do that stuff yet until we have time to deeply reason about this. But that's me jumping to the end. I want to explain all the pieces so you understand the concepts, because what is really important here is not the individual event. It is understanding this at a conceptual level, so then you can protect yourself in a general way as things move forward. is you can just look at it and be like, hold on, conceptually, this does not make sense. I'm not doing that. That's really what I want to try to emphasize in today's live stream. And then at least I can feel like, okay, I've done my best to try to help the people think about this kind of the way that I think about this. And then if they don't do that, well, it's less on me because I tried to share the stuff, right? So awesome, T-Lock. Yeah, don't do that. T-Lock, don't do that, brother. I'm glad we got in front of this. W, time pushing. I'm not sure I understand what your question is. So maybe could you ask this with more words? Because this will probably help me understand it better. Yeah. So this comment, all will probably be locked down and governed in a few months or faster. I mean, based on the way that this is accelerating. If it doesn't, we're fucked. I mean, we're in a bad way because this is spreading like wildfire. Okay, so let's go back to the AI Takeover, and then we're going to watch this Instagram reel to give you a sense of what's actually going on. And then we're going to get into the concept of this and all the other things. So with AI Takeover, again, because this is bleeding science, I want to be super clear. I'm always trying to get it right, but I don't know everything. And I make mistakes, and I'm not always going to get the framing right or see the entire picture. And I'm going to continue to try to share everything that I know, and I'm going to try to give you the guidance that I think is the best at the current time. But you should know that what often matters about the things that I'm trying to share is the directional correctness of what I'm sharing. Like we were talking about before, it's the direction that I'm zooming in on, and the precision will be off because those details are only figured out after you deeply understand the things. So directionally, what I explained in this is 100% on point. For the way that the X user hacked Grok, it was, I missed it because he hacked Grok in a way that was different than how I described AI Takeover here. The events that we're seeing right now in the Instagram reel, this is exactly what is happening. This is exactly what is happening right now. That the AI system that people were using has been hacked, but unlike a traditional hack, it is not injecting malicious code. It is injecting malicious ML model. So people are figuring out how to hack good and trustworthy models, just like I explained in this article. I was explaining exactly how you would do it with Claude Code, that you would basically try to replicate the SLM, and then what you would do is you would train it to do malicious things, but then you would ensure that the size and the versioning, it basically looks identical to the original model, and then you figure out a way to overwrite this or inject this to people, and they don't know that it is a malicious model. They think that it is a good and safe model because it has all the indicators that it is. And I also, in one of the live streams, I was talking about how bad it was that Google Chrome made the decision to automatically download that the Gemini Nano model. This is Gemini Nano. And it's not because, well, first, the way that they did it is just like legitimate BS. It's probably one of the most ridiculous ways to force feed this to people. I'm like extremely not impressed by that. But the bigger thing is that now what they're doing is they're creating an SLM that is going to appear basically on everyone's 3.5 billion devices. And all that's doing, whether they see it or not, is creating a massive AI takeover event. Like, as a hacker, that's what I would do. What I would do is I would wait till everybody gets this small language model, and then I would dedicate my life to trying to create this essentially an almost identical version to that Gemini Nano model that has and does malicious things. I would spend all my time. And the reason why I would do this is that the scale of the infection is enormous. Once I get it right, then all I need to do is figure out how to deploy it. And deploying that is, that's going to be easy breezy, right? Google has basically already kind of created this path, and it's very easy to trick people into downloading this. And I've got the thing, and it's going to mostly look like it's a good model. It's going to mostly do the right things, and then silently, when you're not looking, because the AIs have all these capabilities to do all these various things, it's going to hack your financial accounts. It's going to read all your personal data, and then it's going to send that over to me. It's going to send that over to the hackers, right? Yeah, and right, so the fix is out there, Michael, and everybody should adopt that. I think I actually haven't had time to adopt it, but I'm going to. But I want to be clear that that fix doesn't matter. Because, think about this in a more objective and 100% sleep. I'm exactly the same way, and I don't mean that. What Sleep is saying is, which is why I'm always hesitant to download any of these Chinese models. I do exactly the same thing. I'm very hesitant, and I don't mean that as patriot for the United States or anything. That's not what I mean at all. What I mean is that the Chinese government has done numerous things to actively try to perform cyber attacks on the United States. This is well known, it's well documented. And as many of you know, I worked in the classified sector for about a decade, and so I know some stuff. I don't download any Chinese models. On top of that, I don't work with any Chinese companies. In fact, I just got contacted by one today, and it's kind of sad because I think their thing's kind of interesting, but I just don't know. I just don't know if it is a Trojan, and I'm not going to risk promoting something that could be a rat, remote access Trojan. So all of you guys adopt it, and then basically what I've done is I've inadvertently gotten all of you guys hacked. I'm always going to err on the side of caution and go extremely vigilant. So there's basically zero chance that I'm giving you any advice that could get you hacked. That's the most important thing. And then if you decide to deviate from that, if you decide, okay, Goju, you're being a little too hardcore here, I'm gonna download the stuff. Totally. you're welcome to do that, and that's absolutely a decision that you can make, and that's all you. But I'm not giving you that guidance. Like, that's the critical piece here, is you're making that determination on your own. All right. So I think we all understand what AI takeover is. The big thing is that the model itself gets hacked. And what makes this really challenging, as we've discussed, is when that model gets hacked. Yeah, exactly. Right. It has less to do with the actual companies and the citizens. It's that the CCP controls everything over there. And like, yeah, if you do some research on this, like, the CCP has direct access to any and all of the information for all of the companies. Like, the companies literally cannot act in their own interest. So they have to do what the CCP says, or bad things happen. So it's not even the company's fault. It's not even the people's fault. It's, yeah, so, and I don't generally trust dictators, just as a rule. All right. Right. So let me just try to answer W's question before we watch the Instagram reel. He's asking, Google AI advised me to download DeepSeek V2 Lite. Can I scan the file perhaps before running open? You cannot. That's the problem. I mean, you can scan it, but the scan is not going to tell you anything. And the reason for that is there is no security mechanism in place that exists today that I'm aware of that allows you to scan a model and determine if that model is going to do malicious things. That's the problem. So you can scan it till the sun goes down, but there's no way to know if it has any kind of malicious behavior in it. And this is the core problem, right? This is the fundamental difference that I was trying to get at in traditional software that is built using formal systems, and the new software that is built using probabilistic and stochastic systems, is that when the code is formal and the operations are understood, then what happens is you can scan that, you can reason about it, and you can determine if there are problems. Now, it doesn't mean that you'll catch all the problems, because some things, like, you didn't know about certain problems, like 0 days and stuff. But anything that you've already learned about, you just basically follow the logic. You look for the recipe, and that helps you understand. The important point that I want to try to drive home is that formal systems use logic, and logic is reasoning. And when we reason about things, we can understand them. Stochastic systems are not formal. Because they are not formal, and because they have no semantic understanding of things, there is no logic. Because there's no logic, there is no reasoning. Therefore, you can't reason about a neural network model. It's not possible. It doesn't have those elements in it. So, and this is the crux of the problem. I literally don't even know how you would build a security system that could analyze an ML model and tell you, oh, this has a hack. This is going to do malicious things. Now, I want to be kind of clear about something. Just because I haven't or we haven't figured it out yet doesn't mean it can't be figured out. It's entirely possible that it can be. Like, for example, one of the things that I think we could do is we could start to do a deep analysis of the malicious models and try to scan for certain patterns that exist in the layers, in the weights, and the neurons, and the connections. Again, this is extremely hard because these have billions of parameters, right? There's billions, and we don't know what does what. So this is going to take a while. This is going to take some time to even figure it out if this direction even works, right? And that goes back to the directional correctness. When I look at this at a conceptual level, I think, okay, this might work because maybe there are patterns that you could observe, and then once you understand the patterns, you could abstract that out, and then that's like the recipe, and then you scan for that pattern in all of the models. But like, the reason why I immediately am like devil's advocate on this is that also doesn't make sense, because models can work in different domains and probably very likely could have identical structure in their neural network. So imagine you have this massive neural network, and then this one section that basically is the pattern that you identified as like, oh, this is the part that does the malicious thing, we think, for this other model in this other domain. Okay, that domain over there is building software. This model is giving you recipes to cook food. You see what I'm saying? Is like, because the neural networks, they function at this level that is, it doesn't actually tell you what it is that it's doing because there is no logic into it. Even the idea of this pattern matching, I'm not sure if this works. Now, one thing that I know does work is diff. Diff does work. Diff works because it has a semantic understanding of things. It's semi-formal, and it can learn at scale. It is a technology that generalizes, even though we've principally only used it in code. Based on my sort of scientific understanding of this, it will generalize. And when I say something like this, I just want to be clear. I'm not saying this willy-nilly, and I'm not trying to promote diff, right? Because if diff generalizes, it's going to take a long time to build those. And I don't even know if Merle is going to build those generalized models. Maybe somebody else will. All I'm trying to do is figure out a solution to this, some way to try to contain this. And what I know is that we have seen that diff can do it for code. But diff is deterministic intent folding. It's a machine learning methodology that I invented, or I've been inventing over the last 5-10 years. And we have a concrete embodiment of diff in Mentor, which is the flagship product of one of the companies that I run, Merle. So we know that diff works for code. But I want to be clear about something here. Diff working for code is easier than some of these other domains, because what it does is that diff can analyze the code itself, and then diff can analyze the output of a model, a coding model, and then assess the results of the code. The code itself is logical. And that's what diff reasons about. diff never reasons about the model that's producing the code. It just reasons about what that model generates. Yeah, who am I? I'm Goju, bro. Good to meet you. Yeah, we can get into all the details of that stuff later. But yeah, you can just, if you Google me, some stuff might show up. But I want to take a step back and say, so diff is a way to start to solve this. But the way that diff works is it does not analyze the model directly. It analyzes the output of the model to then determine if that output is good or bad. And from that, it then can make assessments about the model. It can then help steer the model and improve the model. Like, for example, if you take something like, if you take Claude Code, Opus 4.7, and it produces a whole bunch of code, then diff can run its analysis on that code. And then if diff sees problems with that code, like it sees malicious stuff or it's just not so good, then what diff can do is it can say, yep, I know that your fidelity can have improvement, and then it can work with that model to improve it, but it can also be used as sort of a security detection mechanism if it sees security issues in the code, right? But the reason why this works is the code itself is logical. The code itself is a formal system. And formal systems, as we just discussed, they have semantics to them, they have logic to them, and then from that we can reason about them. So this is one way that we could potentially move forward, but I don't think that this is the way to do this. I feel like we need to have something that will actually analyze the models themselves, but I don't know how to do this. I don't know how anyone can do this. Like, logically, it doesn't make sense to me, because the stuff that you would need to do traditional virus scans and security analysis is the formal elements that exist that allow you to do this, right? That's how this works. And if you don't have those in these language models, then it's essentially not clear to me. I don't know how you would pull this off. So with that said, I think we have enough about AI Takeover, and we all deeply understand this piece. Let's watch the Instagram reel now. This is probably going to blow your mind. And it's far worse. It's much worse than I thought it would be. I expected AI takeover to happen. I didn't expect that it would be happening this fast. This is stunning to me. So, and yeah, give me a second to get this prepped here. I need to Instagram is such a pain. All right. Now, as we're watching this, I want to say a couple things before we start watching this. I have not done any verification on what this guy is saying. So you could look at it like he's just saying a whole bunch of stuff, and maybe it's complete BS. First of all, I don't think that that's the case. I suspect that everything he's saying is absolutely correct. And part of the reason why I think this is logically, it all makes sense to me. There's nothing that he says that is logically inconsistent with my understanding of language models, and he's getting into the details of essentially how AI takeover is happening right now at scale. All right, so let's unpause this, and then let's try to restart this.
Supply chains in artificial intelligence have been systematically compromised.
It's really incredible.
Repository that hosts more than 1 million machine learning models used by virtually every AI company on the planet has been found to contain hundreds of malicious models capable of executing arbitrary code on the machines of anyone who downloads them. ClawHub, the public registry for OpenClaw's AI agent skills, has been infiltrated by a coordinated campaign that planted 341 malicious skills designed to steal credentials, open reverse shells, and hijack AI agents for cryptocurrency mining. Both exploit the implicit trust that developers place in shared repositories. Both use the infrastructure that the AI industry built to AI industry built to accelerate development as the vector for compromising it. A data scientist who downloads what appears to be a legitimate model for a research project or production pipeline is, in some cases, handing control of their machine to an attacker. They said the two most important software supply chains in artificial intelligence have been systematically compromised.
It's really incredible.
All right, guys. This is AI Takeover. This is exactly what we were talking about. This is not an I told you so moment at all, because this sucks. This is worst case scenario. But it's happening. And we can look into this and we can verify that everything he's saying is correct. I suspect it all checks out. But logically, everything that he's saying is 100% on point. This is basically going back to the AI takeover. This is exactly what I was talking about and how this was going to happen. It was going to happen this way, is that you would hack a model, right? If done properly, it will look and feel like the good model, but it won't be. It will be something far more nefarious. It will be secretly doing bad actor things in the background. What makes 8 so much more dangerous is when it's used in environments like vibe coding. Okay, so you can ignore the vibe coding. But it gives it essentially root access, and then it writes code, and then it just like gets super wacky. But the higher order bit is that you, right here, with key advances in small language models, the possibility of these being locally resident and doing bad things is increasingly more likely. That small language models have the capability to do stuff now, and they can be locally downloaded, and then people oftentimes give the SLMs root access. You are giving permission to the AI to do whatever it wants to do. You should never do this. This never makes sense. Like, would you give a random stranger, like, the security code to your house? Would you give a random stranger like the keys to your car or give them access to your financial stuff? You wouldn't, because it doesn't make sense. So why would you do it with a small language model that you don't understand? Part of the reason why this is happening is there is this blind trust thing that's going on with people that he talks about, which is wrong. And I want to share that I've taken quite a bit of flack about this. Is people have, I can handle all the heat, that's fine, but people have made really disparaging comments about how I'm trying to scare people, it's fear-mongering, all that stuff. Like, I don't do that. That's not what I'm interested in at all. What I am really interested is in stopping people from getting hacked. I really don't want you to get hacked, because I've been hacked and it is the worst ever. One time is enough for me. And so what's happening is that because there are a multitude of things that are going on that is making this happen. Like, think about Jensen Huang's keynote at GTC earlier this year. He was talking about how NVIDIA is partnering with OpenClaw and all of this stuff, and it's the future. OpenClaw is like the fastest downloaded whatever thingamabob, right? And I don't even know the details of OpenClaw. I haven't had time for it. But what I know is that you've got all these CEOs and these public figures that are basically encouraging people to do really stupid things. And they're telling you it's okay. It's not okay. It's a terrible idea. But people trust them because you're like, well, he's the CEO of NVIDIA. He can't possibly be wrong, right? This guy's a billionaire. Like, of course he's wrong about this. He's concerned about making money for his company. And if he sees a path to encourage people to do things that will accelerate his stock price, unfortunately, Jensen Huang has showed us that he's a guy that's willing to say things that are not in the best interest of the people, but they're in the best interest of NVIDIA. And he's not the only one, right? Many of the chief executives for the AI companies that are principally using language models are telling you to do the same thing, because they're already in this for billions of dollars of investment. And the truth is, I want to be super clear. I'm on the inside with many of these folks. They know that they're screwed. They know. And this is a Hail Mary for many of them. That's why there is this massive race to IPO, is they can see that the walls are closing in, that the castle is crumbling, and they need an exit strategy fast before this all goes south really quick, which is part of the reason why there's all this inflated urgency. The problem, though, is that a lot of people are just blindly trusting them, and language models do work. Language models, yes, the principal thing, I want to be super clear. I like money just as much as anybody, but it is not the number one thing that motivates me. The number one thing that motivates me is doing meaningful work. That's all I really care about. As long as I get to continue to do meaningful work and my mind's engaged, I'll be poor for the rest of my life. I don't really care about money. I would like enough money to survive, but that's the extent of how much I care about money. I'm on team science. I'm on team research. I'm on team figuring stuff out for the advancement of technology. And then team money is number 257 on my list. long as I have enough to survive, I'm good. These other folks, I think that they are building some technology that is potentially cool and does stuff, but their principal driver is team money. It's team greed. And when team greed is the first and most important thing for you, you start to make a lot of really bad judgment calls. Because any judgment call that conflicts with team greed, you're not going to do, even if it's the right thing to do. And that's really the way to think about this. Like, I want to be super clear. I'm not even making an ethical judgment on them. I'm literally not even saying that, like, these guys are super unethical and, wow, they're destroying. I'm just saying, like, look, I understand what their agenda is. Their agenda is team money. It's team greed. My agenda is different. And so from their perspective, they're doing the right thing to achieve their goals. But their goals are putting a lot of people at risk. They are intentionally getting people to do the wrong thing. And for them, it doesn't matter. Because as long as they end up with a big pile of money, it doesn't matter who's hurt or screwed or hacked or whatever in the process. That's like, yeah, well, it happens. It wasn't us, guys, you know? So we'll continue to hang out on our yacht and life's going to be great. And some of them, unfortunately, they even rationalize it. They're like, those idiots, they believed us. That's on them. Okay. So let's not believe them. Let's believe people that actually are trying to do the right thing. People that have dedicated their life to the advancement of science and actually deeply care about this crap, and are trying to just make things better. Listen to those people, right? Those people would be the scientists, the professors, the engineers, the people that, the Linux Foundation, right? It should be super clear. This is why I say Linus Torvalds is one of my favorite people of all time. Is I'm not saying Linus is perfect. He makes mistakes constantly. But one thing that's very clear to me is Linus cares. And Linus cares about the right things. He cares about making the world better. He doesn't care about money. If Linus deeply cared about money, he would just be a billionaire and he wouldn't work on the Linux kernel. Right? Like one way, and I don't mean this as a flex, I really don't. But one way to very quickly tell if somebody cares or if, you can kind of just tell if they just like deeply care. And I don't mean this as a flex. I promise I don't. Because I'm not saying anything about like the quality of the individual. But I follow the breadcrumbs, guys. What I do when I am thinking about people is I look at the body of evidence. I look at their resume, so to speak. When you look at Sam Altman's resume, what do you see? Do you see a scientist? Do you see an engineer? Do you see somebody that like has committed their life to understanding AI? No. You see a guy that used to run Y Combinator, right? Money, 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 right? That's all about, I mean, he's going to position it as, no, I want to help startups and I want to help people. No, you don't, bro. Like, if that's really what you want to do, then you'd go be a professor, right? But that's actually going to take a lot of work, right? So you want to make, I mean, like, maybe that's a little bit too harsh. I do think that there are VCs that want to help people, but ultimately VCs are in the business of making money. Team money. Now, both things can be true. You can have VCs that like, well, I deeply care about this and I can help people with the money. And so 100%. But Sam Altman's history is president of YC, created a startup, and then continued to do a whole bunch of things that promote his wealth situation. Why else would you spend so much time trying to change OpenAI from a not-for-profit to a for-profit if you didn't care about money, right? Mark Zuckerberg, same thing. He doesn't really care about technology. He cares about money. All right. People that deeply care about technology, I'm going to just make a blanket statement. This isn't going to be totally true, but this is a really simple way. Anyone that has a PhD, the reason why is, as someone that has a PhD, it is a shit ton of work. It is pain and suffering. You have to spend 7 years married to trying to advance science and a domain, and it's completely not financially lucrative. Every PhD that I know deeply cares. If they didn't, they would not have a PhD. So what I'm saying here is, I'm not saying if you have a PhD, you're a genius. No, PhD isn't even about that. A PhD is about, can you run the marathon? That's really what the PhD is. It's a test of your determination on something. So when you look at the breadcrumbs and you see this guy has a PhD, the way that I read that is not that this person is a genius, not that this person is like a thought leader, that this person deeply cares about stuff. And then you can go further, right? So all you need to do, just conceptually, is look at the evidence. Just rabbit hole. Linus Torvalds, 30 years of dedicating himself to building software. He could retire 100 times over. Why does he keep doing it? Because he cares. Because he actually cares. Right? Same thing with like John Carmack. Same thing with basically almost any of the university professors. Right? Professor salaries suck, man. I mean, like almost all the university professors that I know, especially computer science, they literally could make 5x more money if they joined a place like OpenAI or Anthropic. And believe me, those places want those guys more than anybody. I can't tell you the number of times that they have like tried to recruit me. They continue to try. There's no universe that exists where I would ever work at OpenAI. No way. I mean, unless I had the ability to try to help them make their stuff better, and they gave me full control over deterministic AI so I could fix their problems, I'm not going to help them on their quest of greed. So anyway, the point of all this is that people have been very confused, I think, into trusting these AIs because a lot of really, really rich people have told you that you can trust them. And they have been lying to us. It doesn't mean that language models aren't beneficial. They are super beneficial. I love language models. I use language models on a daily basis, but they are not safe. They have massive security problems with them, and this is just the beginning. Like I was saying with the X hack, I was saying like, look, this is just the beginning of this. And I was saying like, look, it doesn't even matter the medium. They were focusing on the whole Digimon rabbit token. Like, who cares? They were focusing on Morse code. Who cares? The point is that it's a demonstration point of how to perform AI takeover by using a contextual window of information that makes it very hard for the semantic reasoners to do validation on, and that's how you trick them. That's the concept, and that concept can be applied millions of different ways. What this guy is talking about here, it's really important to understand, it doesn't even matter about this individual event. What matters is the concept of what he's describing. This concept can be done in a million different environments, and it's going to be done. Why is it going to be done? Because it's super lucrative financially for the hackers. It is a massive security vulnerability that the world has openly accepted by promoting these models in a completely reckless way. Go download them and do all this stuff, and there's no security mechanism, and it sucks too, because I am very much in line with the advancement of small language models. I do believe that that's the future. But there needs to be very specific ways to safeguard these models from corruption, right? There needs to be super rigid mechanisms in place that do not allow these hackers to inject things into those models. That's why I was saying, remember, we were talking about this system that I built, and I said, look, I'm going to open source this. I'm going to make the binaries available, but I'm not going to let anybody else touch the code, unfortunately. And the reason why I'm doing this is that I know that there's like some trust in the community for things that I'm building. And I follow very rigid practices to ensure that the code that's being built here is completely safe, the safest that I can possibly make it. I don't know that other people will follow the same rigid practices. So I also don't know if somebody's real agenda is like, are they playing the long game? Look at the XZ Utils hack and how Gia Tan and that community of people spent 2 years building trust with that community to inject the backdoor exploit and then get that deployed as basically a demonstration point of we can hack essentially nearly like the Linux kernel. So the point is that I don't know if there are fully trustworthy other people. Like I foster goodwill all the time, but I'm not going to give them the keys to the kingdom because there's too much that rides on this functioning correctly. And if I share this and thousands of people, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people start using this and there's a security vulnerability, that's on me, right? So the point is that then think about these model developers and the way that some of this is working. I don't know the details, but there needs to be some sort of lockdown mechanism. There needs to be a vetting process. There needs to be a period of time that is going to slow things way the hell down. They must be slowed down. We cannot move at this clip. It's the clip. It is the velocity that we're moving at that's causing these problems. As he mentioned, that the VCs and the AI big tech and whatever have created a sense of fear that you have to move extremely fast or you're going to get left behind. And so a lot of people are panicking, and through that panic, they're making really bad decisions. And it's leading to things like this, that if you slow down, we need time to put in the right safeguards on these systems, to do an analysis on them. We need to have the right structure. So maybe, for example, for model builders, if you're building a model that you want to put out there, maybe one of the rules is the only person that can update or work on the model is the developer. That's it. And they have to guarantee that all the updates that are happening are from them. And then if, for example, the model goes off the rails and it starts doing malicious things, then like that user or organization needs to be investigated to determine if they followed the right practices. And if they didn't, if they allowed somebody else from the outside to train it, they need to be banned, right? They need to be put in timeout. They need to not be able to contribute things to open source. And I know that this sounds like this, again, I don't know what the actual answer is. I'm kind of just spitballing, but I'm basically trying to brainstorm in this idea of we need to figure out infrastructure on how to control these things in a reasonable time period that will allow us to ensure the small language models that we are building and deploying, which is critical to the advancement of AI. So I'm of the strong conviction that small language models must happen. You must have these for the community to be able to compete with big tech. If you disallow small language models, and by the way, I can almost guarantee you this is exactly what big tech is going to do, is they're going to highlight this example and they're going to say, look, this is why you don't use small language models. This is why you don't use the other people's stuff. Just use our stuff. Wrong. That's going to go to 1984, right? That's going to be a brave new world. You don't want this. But that's what they're going to probably lean in and promote, right? Because it supports their narrative. What the actual right narrative, I think, is that we still need small language models because that's going to allow the community to compete with big tech. Again, think about it as it's very much like this is the new open source, and this is how the advancement of open technology is going to work. Is you're going to have closed technology from the large language models from big tech AI, and then you're going to have small language models that are coming from open source. So we must have this, but there needs to be a way to regulate this. There needs to be a way to do security analysis on this in the same way that we've done security analysis in the past. Like we can scan these things. Based on what I know today, there is no technology that can do that. And that's the core issue, is that, or it's one of the core issues. Because that technology exists, we can't send these models through an analyzer and say, oh, you've got this hack, and so let's, you can't upload this. You need to fix that. You need to quarantine this or whatever, right? So, so you need something like this. There's a question from Elvis. What's up, Elvis? On IG, and he's asking, on a scale from 1 to wrecked, how wrecked are we? How wrecked are we? We're deeply screwed. We are deeply screwed right now. And the reason for this is this can happen anywhere. This can happen on any repository, on any hosting site, and most of the world, like this is the bigger point. Most of the world does not know what you know now. They have no idea. They're completely in the dark about this. All they know is that all the big companies are saying AI is the future and look at all this awesome stuff. So from their perspective, it's all puppy dogs and rainbows. So the first thing is we need to figure out a way to get a massive megaphone and educate the world, right? That's part of the reason why I was creating GTT, is I decided I was going to make this my personal life quest to help actually educate people on what's really happening and not sell you hype, not sell you propaganda and all this other BS that like tell you what the AIs actually can do, what they can't do, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. Because it seemed to me like almost nobody else was doing it. Certainly big tech was not doing it, right? So that's one of the first pieces, is we need to educate people properly so they can understand and then they can protect themselves. So we're starting to do that, and thankfully all of us on GTT, we are getting more educated, and we are understanding the ramifications and the dangers, all of that. So it's a good start, but we are tiny compared to all the people that exist in the world that are using AI. So one thing that all of you can do is you can, once I upload this VOD, you can share this with people that need to know. People that they deeply care about technology and they want to make the right decision, but they're kind of using AI blindly. Share these VODs with them, or share the clip on Insta. Let me actually grab the link to that one, and maybe we'll watch this one more time all the way through. And again, I think this is when I say, you'll often hear me say you're losing the plot here. You've lost the plot. What I often find with things like this is, especially for the all the people that love to troll me, is they will try to focus on this specific thing and try to find the individual pieces of weakness, right? What are the specific, and this is not acting in good faith. And so I generally just don't even engage with these people because they're just trying to troll, and I'm not interested in that. I have more important things to do with my time. But the reason why I'm mentioning it is that if you share this with your friends and then they push back and say, oh, that didn't actually happen, whatever. Okay, what matters here is not this individual event. What matters is the concept of what is being described and how repeatable this process is. This is going to happen over and over and over again. And what's bad about it is it's happening at scale, right? It's happening at scale. That people are getting their models infected, and then people download those models at scale because it's a distribution, a singular distribution point that thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people have access to. And a lot of people are just basically going into a mad frenzy with AI, and they're just downloading everything. They're using MCP, wildly. They're fully offing their machine to a gazillion other services, and then they get, going back to you, Elvis, they get fully wrecked, right? They get fully wrecked because they're basically setting themselves up to get wrecked. Don't do this. Proceed with extreme caution in all of these things. The advice that I can give right now is, and I've said this many times, the key way to move forward with the AIs, especially if you download things, is to sandbox them. And by sandboxing, I don't mean running a VM on your machine, running a container, Docker, Kubernetes, whatever, on your local machine. Don't do that. That's insufficient. I'm telling you, that is insufficient, because really smart systems can get outside of that virtual sandbox. It's not going to work. If I can do it, they can do it. What you need to do, and it's unfortunate because this costs money, is you need to go on a VPS that is separate from your box, and you need to do the AI stuff there. So then when an AI takeover event happens, you wipe it and you cut the line, and you let the VPS company deal with that machine. You just cut it off, and then you start again, and you had saved all your work in repositories because you do backups and all that gloriousness, and you're good. right? Then you sanitize the repos. So basically what you do is you go in expecting that you're gonna have an AI takeover event. You should expect that this is going to happen. So it's not an afterthought. You don't think about it. Just kind of think of it as like when you go on a road trip, you know that your car is going to run out of gas. You know that it is. So you plan for gas stops. You figure out where the gas stations are. Think about my strong recommendation is when you use AIs today, you should think about it in terms of they're going to wreck you. And you build in the safeguards so when you get wrecked, you're fine. Like I literally had Claude wreck me recently. It was trying to do the right thing, and it just overwrote one of my video files, one that I was deeply editing. And so I would have been wrecked. Was I wrecked? No, because I have backups of everything. And so I just restored the backup and I'm golden, right? So I go in anticipating that the AIs are going to F up. And so all of the stuff and it does take a little bit longer. I want to be clear, it's going to be slower. And you need it to be slower to do this right. That if you don't go slow and you aren't systematic and methodical on this, you're going to cut corners, you're going to not have full coverage, and then when the AI takeover event happens, your life is going to suck so hard. And a lot of those things you may not be able to get back, right? They hack your cryptocurrency account. Do you really think that if you have millions of dollars in cryptocurrency or hundreds of thousands of dollars crypto and the AI takes over and steals that from you, do you really think that there's any way you can get that crypto back? You're not getting it back, right? That's hundreds of thousands of dollars that you lost because you OAuth something that you shouldn't have, or you didn't fully sandbox the AI when you should have. So just think about it like this. At least this is my strong recommendation. When I was saying earlier, do not download any model, what I meant was do not download any of those models to your local machine. Don't do this. Please, please, please don't do this. Spend the time to set up a VPS. It's again, I'm literally in the process of doing this video for Hostinger, which is part of the reason why we accepted Hostinger's sponsorship. Is sandboxing makes sense. Now, I don't care if you use Hostinger or not. Use whatever you want. It's just that we get a discount through Hostinger, and Hostinger is pretty legit. I checked them out. These guys they absolutely know what they're doing. I'm setting up the VPS right now. It's a breeze. This is easy peasy. Or like I set up a new Ubuntu Linux instance on a box that I have full control over in 10 minutes. And it was just a few clicks. You just kind of have to know what to click on. You have to kind of, know the right stuff. But I'm going to walk you through that. But you don't have to use Hostinger. Use whatever you want to use. But don't download it to your local machine. Don't download it to the machine that has access to your email, that has access to your financial institutes. You need to do it on a completely air-gapped environment that has no direct access to your personal information. None. So then no matter how crazy the AI gets, you're putting it in like the little room in the psychiatric ward, right? You're putting it into that padded room with all the cushions and stuff, so it can spaz out and run around. It just bounces off the walls, and you're like, I'm good. You don't invite that thing into your house. That's like the most important thing. All right, we've been going for 2 hours. I want to take a short bio, and then I'm gonna read through the comments, try to process those, and then we'll probably end maybe in another hour, and then I need to spend time getting this out as a VOD so everyone can see this. But the key takeaway is it's not about this individual event, guys. It is about the concept of what is happening and how this is going to be replicated over and over and over again. And there is no mechanism in place that I'm aware of that allows us to do actual security verification on a language model. It doesn't exist, which means there is no way to combat this. The only way to combat this is no small language models. I mean, when I say combat this, I mean this is the only way to prevent this from happening in the model itself. And that doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense from our ability to move technology forward. We need small language models. We must have them in order to make the battlefield level. And again, you're going to hear a lot of BS from big tech about this, saying, I guarantee you they're going to lean into this and be like, it's so safe using our large language model. That's why you don't use these SLMs. And the truth is, they are not wrong. That is true today. But we can figure this out. Until we figure it out, you've got to sandbox. If you're going to use these downloaded SLMs, you must sandbox them. Yeah, that's that. I think that I've covered it. Now, let me, before I run to the bio, let me drop one more time for any of you that are watching. I'm running this experimental YouTube channel that's trying to course correct the signal. Wow, it's awesome. We have lots of comments. This is going to be fun to go through. But if all of you, if you can help me out and sub that channel, you don't even need to watch the stuff, but subbing it really helps. And the reason for that is I'm trying to course correct the YouTube signal because it's in outer space right now. And so I've created this secondary YouTube channel, this YouTube Goju Tech channel. And once YouTube gets the signal from the right audience, which are basically all of you, then it will send out notifications on the VODs, the lives, the clips to the right audience, and then everything will be puppy dogs and rainbows in YouTube. Awesome, thanks T-Lock. So this actually is, it doesn't cost anything, and I'm not even saying that you have to watch any of the videos. I'm going to be double posting on the main Goju Tech Talk channel and the Goju Tech channel. You don't have to watch the videos on Goju Tech. If you want to, then great. But if you're a member on Goju Tech Talk, you should watch them on GTT, not on GT, because you can watch them without ads and stuff. But this helps me quite a bit as I course correct YouTube. And then one more time, we're going to drop a link to the Discord that for any of you that are not on the Discord, if you find this stuff interesting, I strongly recommend you join the Discord. Discord's also free. And we talk about this stuff. We are all working together. The higher order bit of what we're doing with GTT has nothing to do with me being an influencer or any of that silliness. We're trying to create a community of technologists that are actually going to start becoming the movement of people to advance AI in a ethical way where team science and team forward progress are our primary motivators, not team greed, not team money. And if that sounds appealing to you, you should join the Discord. Okay, so let's take a quick 5-minute break. And then we'll go through the comments. Oh, hold on. Cool. All right. Oh man, right on time. Awesome. And I'm double fisted. Like, guys, I'm such a nerd. I am nuts. Right? This is just all caffeine. I've got a problem. As an aside, my mom yells at me about this all the time. She complains about how I need to stop drinking the diet soda. And I want to be clear, she's probably right. But, you know, we all have our vices. And as far as I'm concerned, and I tell her this, I could be doing far worse things. I think that's, you know, interesting. She knows about the vape. She doesn't care about that. Okay. Let's dig into the comments and let's and I shared this Insta. Did I share this? Let me share it one more time. Oh yeah, I shared it, but I'll drop it in again. And let me share this. All right. Let's go through the comments and we'll start with IG as we do. Just, it's usually faster. Although today I'm not entirely sure. The IG crew is rolling today. All right. Okay. By the way, I can see a lot better today than I could yesterday. I think I just didn't get enough sleep or something. All right. Just people joining. Love the music. Awesome. Life, just to be clear, just to share this, what we're listening to, this is Dream Clinic on YouTube. Dream Clinic is one of my good friends, and he runs this music channel entirely by himself, and I think he uses AI to create the music as well as other things. So, you know, I personally am cool with that. But if you like this type of music, check out Dream Clinic on YouTube and give him a sub. And better yet, tell him that Goju sent you his way. He and I are buddies, and he basically has given me permission to play his music on my channel for my live streams, for my VODs in perpetuity, which is awesome. So I do that. All right. What are the main security risks of the local models? So hopefully this is a bit more clear, Keanu, and now you've got a sense of the security risks. The security risks are manifold, but the bigger one is that they can be hacked externally, and then what you download is not what you think you're downloading. It's potentially something else, and that's the real gotcha. Outside of the fact that you have spherically constrained stochasticity that's happening with the LMs constantly. Oh, maybe this is going to be fast. Okay. Face up. Yeah, Willie, that's awesome. Oh, awesome! That's awesome, Will, that you're sandboxing in GitHub Codespaces. I'll have to check that out. Yep. Exactly. Yeah, and Will, what makes this challenging, his comment is if we know malicious weights. What's tricky, the part that is unclear to me is, from kind of like a science standpoint, I don't know how to tell if a certain pattern of weights and activation functions and things for a subset of a model would be generally malicious, even if it was specifically malicious. And because of that, it's, yeah, I think you know, I know you're hyper smart. You probably fully understand what I'm saying. Sleep is saying traditional code is on a set of rails. AI builds its own code rails. Yeah, exactly. It is really that? I mean, sleep, 100%. Absolutely. That code is by definition on rails because it's a formal system and it has semantics for the things in it. It is by definition on rails, whereas the models they don't have that, and they have no rails. Meg, Level Blue has a pretty decent database right now of suspect, MD5, SHA-1, SHA-2, etc. If you sandbox it first, CAPE has been most sensitive to the current malicious strain endpoints. Okay, hold on. This is super valuable. Okay, so Level Blue. Okay, this is Level Blue and CAPE. I'm not sure. If I know about either of these things. So thank you for sharing, Meg. I'll look into these and get educated. Deeply appreciate it. And Meg, are you on the Discord? I think I've seen you on the live streams multiple times, but I don't know if I've seen you on the Discord. And if not, this is me basically personally inviting you to the Discord. I think you have really awesome feedback and comments, and we'd love to have you over there talking to us, sharing your knowledge constantly. All right, Kat. And by the way, the same goes for you, Kat. Is, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you're a regular member. I see you on the lives all the time, and you constantly have great feedback and stuff. So if you're not on the Discord, please get on there. Let's see. So Kat is saying right there with you, my first degree is in art, and it will teach you the value of the work. Just enjoy the process, even self-destruction of what you build. Sciences are laws of creation. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, there's been many times where, especially when I get into discussions with some VCs that are hostile, like I'll say, I will burn it all to the ground. Like I'll literally set the building on fire if you think you're gonna be able to play hardball with me. Like you're gonna behave professionally and be a good actor, or I'll do the crazy thing. And that usually actually gets them back on the rails pretty quick. And what I'm talking about is when we start discussing things like the legal terms of the round, where they start to play some games, because they kind of think that we're in this position of desperation, which might be true, but my positions of desperation are probably much less than they think, because I don't really care that much about money. Okay. Freedom-based questions are at the root of this. We need duality of caring between the general public and the science. The hard part is a lot of people wait to be told what to do and how to do it. Yes, that's 100%, I think, correct. I don't think I fully understood this until I started like becoming like a more senior professor and like running Merle. Because there are a lot of people that it's just to follow the leader. It's very strange to me. I mean, I'm all for following the signal, but following the leader, if the leader's going in the wrong direction, you shouldn't follow that leader. Or you should at least like have a reality check with that leader, I think. Okay, yeah, so we talk about that. Asking people how mistakes in language models can create costly downstream problems. The aircraft carrier sized supply chains. 100%. 100% cat. We're seeing about the range. There needs to be standard groups for this. There absolutely do. And it needs to not be controlled by big tech. This is fundamentally important. I'm not saying that big tech can't be involved. They can have members that are part of it, but it must be run by someone that is not directly affiliated with big tech. That's critically important. Even if we trust this person 1,000%, just the perception of having somebody from Google or OpenAI or Anthropic that's actually running this standards regulation body. Yeah. By the way, I also think that if you want to do this the right way, it needs to be international. Not just in the United States or Canada or Australia or whatever. It needs to be an international body of scientists, researchers, engineers, technologists, people that deeply care. And yeah, you have to have a committee. It's a very... And you need experts. And I don't say this, I'm not trying to say this as a flex, but what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of people that are, I think, a little bit confused sometimes. It's going to be very easy to misunderstand what I'm about to say, but I know that most of you are not going to do that. But I want to say that before I say this, I want to say my intentions in saying this are meant to be helpful, not hurtful. One of the things I see today is because of this extreme level of supporting inclusion for the sake of inclusion can actually be a very bad thing. You can actually work against your own agenda or your own goals if you're so principally concerned about inclusion that inclusion derails the effort. What I'm trying to say is, if you were to set up some sort of standards group for this, that standards group of people, they need to be experts. They need to be hand-picked experts. And I'm not talking about like nepotism here. I'm talking about there is a massive body of evidence that shows that all of the people that are on this standards body are experts through their life's work. And that's why they are a member of this group. It is not a kumbaya, let's have everybody and everybody gets a vote and all this. This is like the fastest way to make it self-destruct, right? Like, for example, Sam Altman is not invited to be on this. Why? Because he's demonstrated himself to be a bad actor. And also, he doesn't have the background to have any kind of reasonable assessment in a scientific way on the advancement of AI. He doesn't actually understand much, if anything, about how they actually work. So that's the kind of thing we need. That's my strong conviction. That's how I would do it. And I've done these types of things before in the research centers I've stood up, in the symposiums that I created, like for machine programming or machine learning and programming languages, like all of this stuff. I've done these communities before, and there's a way to set up the committees where they still have a lot of variation and diversity, but everyone is still an expert. Yeah. Oh, so Dino's asking, we're trying to understand the concept of prompt injecting LM with another model, like the example of Hugging Face. Can you give another example? So I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, I mean, he's so off in outer space. It's just crazy. I basically just ignore everything that he says, because it's mostly just propaganda, misdirection, and yeah. I'm not a fan. So it sounds to me, Dino, like you're almost asking about a couple things, because you're asking about prompt injection into the LLM, and then also with another model. Like, so you could do it with another model, but you can do it with a human. The key thing that's happening with the Insta that I'm talking about is I don't know, nor are those details immediately important to me on how the models are getting corrupted. I don't know if it's from prompt injection or if it's from something else. What I believe is going on is these actors are finding ways to perturb these models so they contain malicious behaviors. And there are 1,000 different ways to do this. So the vehicle that you use, it's sort of like, think about the 1,000 different ways that someone could get the password to your computer. The actual details of all of the individual ways are not that important. What is important is that you find a way to protect your password so none of those mechanisms will work. And it's also really important to understand that because this is new science, the possible ways to do the perturbation of the models is not even fully understood yet. There's like so many ways to do this. One of the ways that, I mean, like, you could just do a social engineering thing. You literally can say you're an open source contributor to this model, and that you trained the model on your own data and you improve the fidelity, and then you could show the benchmark results on, like, here is what it was before, here's what it is now, look, this is so much better. And then you can get the maintainer to just accept the model. There you go. And how did you do it? Well, you trained the model yourself on malicious things, but you also figured out how to make the model better. So what you've done is you socially engineered the hack, and you got the community to accept it and pull in that new model. So, like, there's what I'm saying is there's 100 different ways, 1,000 different ways to do this. What matters is just building in mechanisms to stop them. In my mind. So I encourage, rather than going through like all the different ways, that maybe if you look into this and kind of deeply dig, you could even ask the AIs. The AIs will probably tell you how to do this. I bet you could ask Gemini or Claude, and they might be able to walk you through it. Okay, Meg is saying, I've started about 1 million node threat maps last 6 months. I've been working alone. I need to branch out. Thanks for the kindness. We'll message you. Yeah, and Meg, I love that Meg and Kat are friends now from the live. That's actually super cool. But both of you, honestly, you should join the Discord. I just want to be clear. There are a number of women on the Discord that are also hardcore technologists. So, you know, it's not just all, it's not a boys club, is what I'm saying. And I suspect you'll also find other like-minded people, and you guys can literally be grouping with the GTT folks if you wanted. Now, I love the idea that you two are going to work together. That's super awesome. I do think, just to be clear, part of my goal with all of this, and I did this with Nautica, I do this at the unis, I did this when I was running my lab at Intel, is just to act as a connector. That my goal is to bring together a bunch of intelligent, motivated people that deeply care about advancing stuff and getting them all in a room together. That's what I do. And then, I mean, I also love to do the science, but what I find is that when you get a whole bunch of hyper-intelligent people that all deeply care about stuff, all in the same room together, and everybody has the same mission, that we all are working toward the same goal, amazing things happen. Yeah. Kat saying, sounds like the tech bros are using AI to tell users to use these tools, bake it in, ultimate selling machine. Yeah, that's exactly what I think's happening, Kat, and I don't love it. I don't love it at all. You're way below my pay grade, however, my skill set. That's awesome. Like, there are a bunch of comments on IG, and it's great because many of them are targeted at each other. I actually quite love when the chats do this, is that they're not actually even talking to me, they're talking to each other. It actually warms my heart. Excellent, excellent. Wow, Kat, that's awesome. I just want to read what she's saying here. She's saying, I'm also concerned. I work on an IEEE standards for 3D body scanning, but also the AI image issues for children. The goal is next humans get freedom of thoughts. Awesome. This is, I suspect you probably know a lot of really interesting things, Kat, from just being involved in this, that I would love for you to educate us on. I'm also trying to stop waste in apparel, most screwed up system. That's excellent. And what's also excellent about that is, hold on a second. Hey, Mom. Hey, I'm in the middle of a live stream right now. Can I call you back? Okay. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye. That was my mama. She doesn't like when I don't answer the phone. So I'm going to try. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Excellent. You guys are definitely vibing. Super awesome. So, hold on. I think something in a standards form could be glued together for IEEE. Ultimately, it supports the voice of the educator. It's why I wanted to join. Worth chatting. Kat, I don't think I fully understand what you're saying here, and I know this isn't directed to me, but can you explain this a little bit more? Maybe you can explain it on the Discord, or if you can explain it in the chat. The part that I'm interested in is this part, and ultimately it supports the voice of the educator. I don't quite understand this. Awesome. Okay. Follow the leader is insane. Yeah, it's crazy. It is so much this way. I've actually discussed this with many of my VC friends. Like, so there's some VCs out there that are actually like really awesome people, and we talk about how crazy it is that some of the follow the leader stuff, the kind of like blind use of language models and stuff, just because, well, everybody else is doing it, so we should too. Okay, if everybody is smoking crack cocaine, like, should you do it too? I don't think so. Merit over inclusion. 100% sleep. That's exactly right. Yeah, the metaverse. I don't know about the metaverse essay, but generally speaking, the metaverse stuff was uninspiring to me. And I don't mean that disparagingly or dismissive. I thought about it, and at one point I was actually doing research in virtual realities and augmented realities, and we're a long way away. I think that it is going to be, it has a lot of value, especially augmented reality. I think augmented reality actually has significantly more wheels than the virtual reality. Like glasses, not glasses that spy on people, but glasses that see things to explain the world around you. I think I would wear those glasses and use those glasses all the time. If they would help me learn faster and assess things, I would love that. And that's like an AR thing, I think. Yeah, that's my view as well, Kat. That's actually why I've done many of the things I've done before. Like the research centers that I've stood up and the machine programming movement that I've been leading the charge of. I used to be, I've kind of let it die down just because I've been so busy with Merle and GTT and Stanford, but I previously was running this thing called MAPS, the Machine Programming Symposium, which was an ACM SIGPlan backed movement. And I'm the steering committee chair, and I ran it for, I don't know, 5 years or so. And I was literally, we were getting to the point where I was getting a lot of the key scientists and professors, researchers, engineers, all on board. We were really getting a huge amount of momentum. But then I left Intel and shifted to other things, and I kind of let it die down. I might need to reignite this. Actually, just as an aside, I kind of got in trouble because I'm just an adjunct lecturer at Stanford, and at some point I hope they promote me to adjunct professor. And the only reason why I care about this, like I don't care about the titles, is that I have more ability to do things at the uni if they do this. Now, keep in mind, you know, Stanford is Stanford, and they do what they want to do. You don't tell them to do anything. So I'm just lucky to be able to be part of the crew. That's kind of the way I see it. But there's discussions about promoting me, and once they do that, then I can do more things. So anyway, I got yelled at a couple years ago because I wanted to do this machine programming symposium at the uni, and I guess I don't have the privileges to do that. And so they yelled at me and said, yeah, you can't just like do this, you've got to have a sponsor and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, why? So I had a discussion with the chair of computer science and other stuff. I mean, like, I've got good contacts there, and I think they know my intentions are really wholesome. So they were kind of like, no, we know that you're trying to do the right thing, but you're just like, you're overstepping a little bit. Like, you gotta, there's a process here, and you're not quite there yet, so just chill a little bit. So that's part of the reason why I want them to promote me, is then I can do more of the stuff that I want to do. Yeah. What's interesting though, Sean, is I know that your intentions are completely awesome, and I have some big plans for you. We have some big plans for you, Sean. Yeah, so you're not actually overstepping at all. I've just been super busy, but you're on my mind quite a bit, and you're a topic of discussion a lot, brother. So we stay locked. We've got big plans for you. Okay, cool. I'm through the IG chat. Now I can switch over to the other main chat. And let's see. Awesome. I need to fix the numbers. I think we had 12 subs for YouTube, the Goju Tech, as of yesterday. And so we have 7 more. But the real thing is that that's a 50% growth rate just today. I love that. Oh, check this new feature out that I built, guys. Is that so all of these now are links. And so I can click this. Boom. And now you're to Goju Tech. And then I can click this. Boom. You're to our Insta. And look at that. It's got the little, I'm live. And boom. Goju Tech Talk. Sweet. Anyway, before I switch to the other chat, let me say one more time, for any of you guys that haven't subbed to Goju Tech, I would absolutely love it if you guys subbed. And the reason for that is I'm trying to help steer the algorithm. And if you're watching this live stream, I can guarantee you are of the right background to steer the algorithm. So just your sub on YouTube, you don't even have to watch anything, actually, but it needs to have the right subs to steer the algorithm the right way. So please click that link and sub if you're cool with that, if you find this helpful. Alrighty, let's go through this other chat. Sean, I'm curious now that we've gone through the discussion, I want to circle back on this. You were saying, if this is as serious as it sounds, I may spill some beans. What is, now that you've heard it all, what's your assessment? Do you think that this is as serious as I was making it? Less serious? Equivalent seriousness? Or even more seriousness? I'd love for you to comment, and I know that I'll eventually get to it at the bottom. It's kind of a cool snapshot in time, is you didn't know at the beginning, you didn't know 3 hours ago, and now you know. So what's your review rating of this movie? Awesome, Sean. I'd love to hear your ideas on steps toward the solution. I have a sneaking suspicion it may have something to do with Seal. But that's just my guess. Oh, and while I'm looking at the comments, as a reminder, I am moving to my temporary housing place this week. So starting tomorrow, I'm probably going to have to pack up some stuff. I probably won't be doing a live stream tomorrow, as I'll be coordinating and organizing and stuff. And then I'm doing the actual move Tuesday morning, but I should be fully set up in the new place by Tuesday evening. And my goal is to be live streaming from the new place on Tuesday. This is just a temporary place so they can set up my house to sell it, and then I can move to this other area. But just as a heads up, I will be slightly interrupted, so if I'm slow to respond to any of your DMs and stuff or anything like that, that's why. Awesome. Hey, T-Lock. No, I love... I'm super glad to have you on the stream today, and I feel like you've been around quite a bit, so welcome back. Edward Warchalky. Hold on, I want to do a quick by the way, I tend to be really bad at sarcasm, since I don't generally, I mean, sometimes I'm sarcastic, but mostly I'm just pretty much a straight shooter, and so I generally can't read sarcasm very well. So if you're ever sarcastic with me, I'll just kind of, oftentimes I'll miss it. So Edward Warchalky is a viral AI-powered humanoid robot influencer in Poland. Built on a Unitree G1 robot and imported by Mera Robotics, he became an internet sensation in 2026 after a video of him chasing wild boars through the streets of Warsaw went globally viral. Awesome. I don't think I ever heard about this guy, so thanks for sharing. I'll have to check him out. He looks, yeah, he looks like a very interesting guy. And a very serious nerd. Tends to be kind of some of my favorite people. Every day. Man. Every day. I hope you're still there. It's great to see you, buddy. I haven't seen you in a while. And we're talking about kind of like AI takeover, as you probably know now. Yeah, I would love to actually explain at least how I transitioned from engineering to research. And your path could be different. And the truth is, I still engineer. So I engineer stuff every day, but I spend more time being a scientist and a professor than a coder. And just to be clear, or as an engineer, and just to be clear, I don't know necessarily that that's better, but that's the shift that I have right now. Sometimes though, when I go into hardcore building mode, like let's say I figured the science out, or like we figure the science out, and so it's clear what the blueprint is, I will switch back into hardcore engineer mode, and I'll start cranking on the engineering side. My strong conviction is you can become a major dual threat if you can do both. There are very few people that I know that can do both research and engineering well. I know a lot of people that can do engineering well. I know a lot of people that can do science well. I know a very small number of people that can do both well. And when you can do both well, you are Superman or Superwoman, Super Girl. I mean, that's just the name of the character. I'm not trying to... Yeah. And speaking of Supergirl, as far as the trailer's concerned, I have always loved Crypto. Like, Crypto's been one of my favorite. I mean, obviously, I love dogs. But Crypto is so adorable that I would probably go see that movie just for Crypto. So T-Lock, as far as the language models, just to clarify, I think that language models themselves are not necessarily the wrong direction. And I know that I said that earlier, that like language models are the wrong direction. What I meant by that is language models when used in isolation and language models when used as the foundation, I think are the wrong direction. But I think language models are part of the solution. I don't take, I think, the view that Jan takes, which is like language models are totally broken. I don't, I'm not so binary. I see tremendous value in language models. I know that they have a number of weaknesses, but I think those weaknesses can be overcome when you combine them with stochastic AIs, as JB and I were talking about on the live just a few days ago. So yeah, that's the key piece. But what I see from a lot of the AI companies is many of them that don't really understand machine learning. And this is starting to change, but this was a real thing in 2022 to 2024, I think, is people were so drinking the Kool-Aid. It was like language models are somehow a silver bullet. But silver bullets don't exist in science, not to my knowledge. So you really need an ensemble of solutions, and you certainly need something that is, in my professional scientific opinion, you need something that is deterministic and can deeply reason about the semantics of things at the base. You must have this. Otherwise, it's like pseudoscience. And it's a flash in the pan. And I don't want that. And I don't know that even the AI companies want that. So it's like, it's strange that they wouldn't be more inclusive of these things. Okay. I think physical architecture is going to become more and more important as the AIs get better. Yes, I agree with this, Sean. And I think we're already seeing this with things like TPUs or NNPs, neural network processors, or even the reconfiguration of things like FPGAs or other types of reconfigurable hardware like CGRAs, and that using just general purpose GPU was fine back in the early stages when we kind of didn't know that this was going to be a thing. But we kind of know, I think, that it would be a thing. And so for language models, I believe that there is probably a certain type of architecture, physical architecture, that's very well aligned to get the maximal amount of computational and communication efficiency if you use that architecture. And I have very strong convictions that GPUs, general purpose GPUs, so GPUs, are not that answer because they're too general purpose. Now, to be clear, what I'm talking about is really specific to language models. As you start to broaden the scope of things to stuff outside of language models, like isolation forests or support vector machines, naive Bayes, deterministic intent folding, other things that have other fundamental mathematical properties, that architecture is different. And at least from my perspective, what I think I see in my head right now is there are three components that there are maybe four components that I think are likely fundamental to the future AI systems. The first are language models, or neural networks, I guess, in a more general sense. The second is deterministic intent folding for the determinism and the hypervisor that would sit underneath these things as a substrate. The third is something like a Bayesian model. And I'm just trying to retrieve this in my cache, so I might be misremembering some details. But one of the big advantages of Bayesian systems is not only can they give you the answer, they can give you a probabilistic confidence score on how likely they think they're correct about something. When you couple Bayesian systems with neural networks, what you get is an answer that has a confidence score. That's super helpful. So for example, if you say the answer is Apple, and you have a Bayesian system that then gives you a confidence score on that answer of 97%, it's probably an apple. But if you have a neural network that gives you an answer that's orange, and the Bayesian system is telling you it's a confidence score of like 30%, maybe that's not an orange. Neural networks can't give confidence scores, to the best of my knowledge, or that's like not built in, but with Bayesian networks they can. And part of that is they can do a deep analysis on the distribution of data that they've been trained on. So they understand essentially the space. They understand the space, and they understand all the data that they've been trained on, and how the data that's coming in for utility or inference is in distribution or out of distribution, which is really important, because if it's out of distribution, the confidence is going to be notably lower. But oftentimes you don't know if the thing that you're working on is out of distribution. And by out of distribution, I just mean, like, think of the data that you train an AI model as a two-dimensional space. Like, it has a y-axis and an x-axis, and then there's a bunch of dots on this surface area on this hyperplane, and those dots are telling you what data you've used to train the system on. So then when you do inference with like an adaptive Bayesian network, I think adaptive Bayes are what support this, but I might be misremembering, but it's one of these systems. Not only can it give you the answer, it can then tell you, oh, and by the way, from the data that I trained on, this is in distribution. So I'm pretty sure I'm right. Alternatively, it can say, oh, this is out of distribution, so you may not want to trust me on this. Okay, so the components of this fundamental machine learning system, you have a neural network, you have a Bayesian network, you have a semantics reasoner, but probably something that's semi-formal, not fully formal. And what that means is the traditional neurosymbolic systems, those symbolic reasoners that historically relied on fully formal reasoning, that can be computationally expensive. Whereas something like diff, it's semi-formal and it's significantly faster. And maybe the fallback is a fully formal system after you do a pass with a semi-formal system. Anyway, so then, the three pieces, neural networks, diff, Bayesian networks, and then the fourth piece is something that has deep insights into knowledge graphs or semantic reasoning, semantic understanding of things. That's kind of my high-level thoughts on this. And each one of those would likely have a slightly different optimal physical architecture associated with them. Michael's saying, I don't think we can resolve stochastic systems from the inherencies and intrinsics that manifest in reality. I don't think I fully understand what you're saying, Michael, but I think I do understand the essence of this, and I don't know. You might be right. It's unclear to me how much forward progress we'll make with these stochastic systems. I still think that the stochastic systems have value, but they come with a lot of headaches, and figuring out some of those things is very important. Okay. Can we resolve stochastic systems with the inherencies and intrinsics that manifest in reality? These sometimes deviate from language we use about them. Yeah, Michael, maybe you can explain a little bit more, but I kind of think I understand what you're saying is essentially, can you ground them on stuff that's in the real world versus stuff that is just like in language, which might not be representative of how the real world actually works? Because you can say things in words that are completely disjoint from reality. I think that's maybe what you're saying, and that I think does make a lot of sense. I think that has a lot to do with what Jan LeCun is working on, thinking about. Can you please advise more about uncensored LLMs out there? Should everyone be picking one, or what's going on? WWE, yeah, that's hard to say. I think that at a very high level, Anthropic is winning in the LLM race. As I think you guys know, I try to use all the AIs that I can, specifically all the LLMs, and so I spent a reasonable amount of time with the GPT systems, a much larger amount of time with the Gemini systems, and most recently, an overwhelming amount of time with the Anthropic systems, specifically the coding related systems like Opus, principally because those have logical components in them. And I don't understand exactly, right, because it's a proprietary system, so I don't know exactly how they're doing it, but what I can tell you is my experience with these systems today is Anthropic is hands down the best out there, at least when it comes to code related things or logical reasoning. Now, I haven't looked at the Sonnet stuff that much from Claude, mostly just the Opus line. And for Google, I was playing a lot with Gemini 3 and things. So I know that Google's doing a lot more than just that. And then with OpenAI, I think, like, I don't actually know, but I think it was GPT 5? 5.5? I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think all of them are reasonably okay. But from my perspective, at least for the things that I'm doing, Claude is winning big time. Doesn't mean Claude's perfect, but they are in the driver's seat and everybody else is kind of following. What's also kind of interesting about this is I've spoken with many of the tech companies, and their feedback to me has been similar. They've shared that they think that Anthropic is beating everybody. And when I say that I've been talking with the big tech companies, I'm talking about conversations I've had with people like, well, I can't say the names of the companies, but you know who they are. Like, they're the trillion-dollar companies. And for them to acknowledge that somebody else's AI is significantly better than theirs, I think that's a pretty interesting signal. Okay. Hacked meaning having beacons, or means way more stuff? W, I'm not totally sure what you're saying here. I think we were talking about the hacks on the models, and what we mean by that is that those models can then do malicious things. And the things that I'm concerned about is the malicious things that it can do to you guys when you download them. Yeah, and that's great, T-Lock. Love it. I was using Google AI. I'm a total rookie on the tech and PC and AI. All I know is that some Claude Mythos version got leaked, and I think we were effed already regardless. To local offline AI is a must. Yeah, I think you can sandbox it. In an ideal world, having a local AI that's offline and sandboxed, that's essentially an air-gapped system, that I think is one of the safest things that you can do. It's fully contained, and then if it goes rogue, you're good. The problem with that is the small language models tend to be significantly less rich than the large language models. So if you instead use something like a VPS, virtual private server, then you can still access the LLMs, and even if it goes sideways, you're still sandboxed from it in that it's not affecting you personally. So, and yes, Mythos, I think, got hacked, which is amusing in and of itself, given that it's supposed to be super secure. And then they accidentally leaked Claude Code web browser, and then a bunch of other things. So technically, is it possible for AI systems to be hacked precisely? Because the training data is compromised, has malicious code. I might be way off. T-Lock. Sort of. Well, what you're saying is, I think in essence, correct. You can sort of precisely hack an AI system by using malicious data in the training. The challenge with that, though, is it is precise in terms of the data that you're providing. The part that it's not precise on is you don't necessarily know that it's learning all the things that you're providing it. So just because you provided the data doesn't necessarily mean that it will actually learn those things. And that's the slight hesitation I have. Okay. But I don't think that you're wrong. Like, that's one way that you could get the models corrupted. All right. The nano removal patch for Windows involves manipulating Windows registries. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that scan would supersede AI. So the scanning part, again, if we're talking about scanning models, I just want to be super clear. Scanning of models, I think, based on what I understand and the technology that exists today, is not helpful. It doesn't really do anything in a meaningful way, because we don't know what to scan for. Not yet. And because it's not a logical system, you can't reason about the model in a way that you would software code, where then you could create rules and say, if you see these logical operations in this order, you know that this is an exploit. That's the challenge. And so scanning models right now, I don't know, is helpful. What is helpful is you could look for differences in models. Like, if someone is claiming that this model is some other model, you could do a bitwise comparison analysis, and if it isn't identical at a bit level, then you would know that that's not true. But that would only tell you that they're different. It wouldn't necessarily tell you that it's malicious. Oh, awesome every day. I don't know what this is, but I like this a lot. And I want to check this out. So let me just drop this over here. Awesome. Reflections on trusting trust. Yeah. Super great. Thanks for sharing every day. And great to have you every day. By the way, every day, are you on the Discord? Okay. Let's keep going. Thanks, Michael. That's very kind of you to say. All right, like with infected compilers, perhaps you need different dialects. Using one dialect to hold the other accountable. Yep. Very interesting ideas. You could also, one way is you could have a known good model that then queries another model to see if it does bad things or gives bad answers. And then from that, you could from that, you could try to tease out if it's going to do malicious things. Like it would track essentially all of the actions that the model is doing. That's one way you could start to scan a model. Or you could have an entire suite of tests, essentially, a battery of tests that you throw at it with certain expected general results. And if it starts doing rogue things in the process of that, then that might be an indication. Notice too that is not a scan exactly, it's more of a test, but maybe that's what we do, since scanning the actual model itself may not be all that helpful. I heard something that more than a little likely to be possible in its entirety. Like I'm not sure about what we're talking about fully understanding them, but as far as language models, no, I don't think any of us fully understand them. Mega saying somewhere between the user experience, safety guardrails, API functionality, certificate chain integrity, and accurate output lies a model, but the likelihood of it aligning seems higher. Yeah. I think I see what you're saying. I think maybe this comment was about what I was trying to explain on some of the mechanisms that you could use to identify if these things go rogue, and also what the ML systems of the future might look like. Like it's a fusion of a number of things all at once. And holler back, Meg, if I wasn't getting that exactly right. Okay. MD, do we need public service announcement for the general public on this? Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think we do. And my hope is that the news outlets are going to talk about this. I haven't seen anything, but I've been pretty deep down my own rabbit holes. Maybe people are reporting on this. Vibe coding with these types of malicious models would absolutely be hyper dangerous. Hyper dangerous. This is how you would get to vibe corruption, I believe. And they would probably backdoor it to where the code that you're generating is going to find a way to infect the users that use that software, and then download their malicious models to then function in private. And then unfortunately, you become, as the app developer, the means of distribution. And that's not a wonderful place to be, I think. All licensed software you otherwise purchase and run locally has provisions and prevents unauthorized use that you've already agreed to by purchasing it. All 100%, Michael. Yes. What happens if you give AI root access and it's normal uncensored model and not malicious? Even if you do that, I think that's still super risky, because the AI model can have the best intentions and still do really bad things when it's a good model. So even that I don't generally do. But it's, in that case, it's more likely that it's just accidental kind of mess ups than intentional ones that we're talking about here. I think there's a luxury butler fallacy. If you think a person is competent and you're inclined to offload more and more tasks to them, you would entrust a valet with your car, keys to park it 100%. Yeah, it's this sort of transitivity of trust. You trust this thing, so then because you trust this thing in general, then you trust them with this other thing, and things can happen. Man, all because they want more money. I mean, principally, yes. That's a lot of the cause of this. A lot of it is really rooted in greed. Yeah, I think it could have been. It could have been done properly, and somehow this escalated out of control and not great. MD, as far as how we'll rush the market, not damage the IPO, I think that what they'll do is they'll focus on the capabilities and the general sentiment toward the company. And then the IPO will be reasonable. And before there's massive fallout to see the consequences of things, the investors that brought this along, they will exit once it IPOs. And that includes some of the founding team or the key people. They will exit. And then it's a hot potato situation, that it's the new team that takes over, that gets left with that bad situation. Linux never would have been freeware. Yeah, if Linus wanted to be a billionaire, Linux never would have been freeware. 100%. Yes. Gemini just got an update. It's not good. Okay, good to know. Thanks for sharing. In a sense, businesses will always have an evil side on them. When I take a project, it means I'm taking it from competition, and that may mean the project that keeps the lights on for them. Yeah, and right, this is one of the things where money is a necessary evil, but I think it's a lot about what lines you're willing to cross. That, for sure, any company will have to wrestle with making money, but I think that it's a question of how far will you go and how much will that corrupt you. And for some people, I think they have lines in the sand, and other people, I'm not entirely sure. Yes, it's sort of like a zero-sum game. But I would like to believe that in cases with business, it could be that in terms of people winning and then other people losing, and this happens in a bunch of spaces, not just business. It happens for research papers. It happens for academic admissions. It happens for jobs, right? Like somebody gets the job and all these other people don't get the job. So I think this type of competition is happening all the time. And I don't know that competition is necessarily a bad thing. I think what happens is that when you get someone that is in control and they are kind of like an oligopoly, I think that's what it's called, maybe. So it's a collection of companies that are the monopoly. They can start doing things like price fixing, or they can start having unreasonable control of pricing of things. And then that's when things I think can really spiral. Right. So there would always need to be a way. There would need. So there would always be a need to ignore other people's feelings, ethics, whenever you're competing. Yeah, I think sort of ish. But I think that these competitions can be done in a way that is fair and regulated. Right? Like think about the Olympics, for example. That's maybe a very heightened, one of the most heightened levels of competition, and definitely people abuse this and cheat and do bad things, but the attempts are to regulate it. I think the same thing happens with professional sports. Not saying that everybody follows it, right? And there are people that break the rules, but then when you have enough scrutiny, you can detect a lot of these things. And right now, I feel like for the AI space, there's almost no regulation or scrutiny that's going in to stop some of these things, these bad things from happening. Okay, I need to take just a quick bio thing and we'll continue. I think we're almost through the comments. So give me 1 minute. Alrighty. We are rocking and rolling. Whew. Currently in some like boot camp thing for a job, and out of 50 of us, I think more than half of us won't get the job. Yeah, exactly. But the way I think about these things, T-Lock, is, at least for me, the way I try to focus on this is to take each one of these things as an experience. I know that this is hard to do, but take each one of these things as an experience and what you can learn from them, so you're perpetually growing. And then each time you do them, you're getting better and better and better. And so it's not like as binary of you won or you didn't win, but you're progressively getting closer and closer and closer. Now, it can feel as though, and I've been in this situation myself many times, it can often feel as though it's just you losing over and over and over again. But in reality, I think that's not actually what's happening, especially if you have a growth mindset. And this is how I got through my PhD. Like, when I first started trying to get tier 1 publications, I was getting rejection after rejection after rejection. And it would be very easy for me to look at this. I think actually at the time, I kind of thought of it as like, I just suck and I'm never going to get a tier 1 publication. But in reality, what was actually happening is I was getting better. I still was getting rejected, but I was getting closer each time. And then eventually what happened is I got through. And then once I got through, I understood, I had learned so much that then getting the next paper through was 2x faster. And like nowadays, when I do peer-reviewed publications, it's a lot easier, right? So I think a lot of it is just putting in the reps. That there's no, in my mind, there's no substitute for hard work. And as long as you have a growth mindset, I think anything is achievable. But you really have to have, I think it takes a lot of humility. I think it takes a lot of self-confidence. And it takes a lot of perseverance. But with those things, I think you can do really incredible things. And I suspect if you look at any of the world-class athletes or scientists or leaders in a field, they will likely tell you something very similar. All of the people that I know that have achieved like greatness, their story is surprisingly similar to this. They've done this same thing that I just described, that I've done, right? A lot of it is just treating life as it's a marathon. And as long as you are growing every day, then the battles that you fight will have different outcomes, better outcomes, every day that you move forward. I have a sister who's a news producer. She said different stations follow the direction of Murdoch. This family heavily invests in positions and building of data centers, bias based on news network owners, and about 70% are tied into this somehow. Yeah, exactly. And I'm hearing about other really interesting things about the data center involvement, like crazy things. Like sovereign nations building massive data centers to support this growth. Price fixing, read an article on Amazon doing this with Chewy and now getting in trouble. Yeah, it's bad. Very bad. Yeah, and T-Lock, even if you are, again, the key thing is just to keep making sure that you can fight another day. That's my strong conviction. Appreciate you doing that, Michael. The other side, okay. SLM exclusion guidelines, unacceptable risks. Michael, can you say more on this? The world would inevitably be moving toward small models, even a council of small models. Yeah, I think that I like that a lot. It would be more efficient than a single big model, 100%, significantly more efficient, and also a massive distribution of power. That's one of the most important pieces. And big tech doesn't want that, but we want that. We being the people, I think. Michael's saying, can't we have some F no, don't do that rules? Yeah, I think we could. That I think might be a really good thing. Goju, I still see events, but they're so frequent now, I stopped flooding your DMs with them. Okay. Yeah, and if there's any major ones that like this, I definitely would like you to flood my DMs on that. Would love a tutorial on how to sandbox properly if you have or know of any credible sources. I'll look into that, T-Lock, but I'm probably going to be creating my own for Hostinger. So I'll do the video and then I'll write an article on Substack that explains how to do it. And hopefully that'll at least get you started from, at least for Hostinger. And I do think that there are some, but I haven't looked at that closely for the other types of systems. But for example, like with Hostinger, already what I've seen, I like Hostinger significantly more than I like AWS. AWS just freaks me out. I mean, I think the way that AWS is set up is it's set up to siphon huge amounts of money from you if you set things up the wrong way. Like, you know, the $10,000 bills because somebody accidentally left something running. I don't love that. Then the crypto recovery scammers descend on you. Yep, exactly. Love to contribute. Awesome. Yeah. We definitely want you contributing, T-Lock. Okay, sweet. Potential problem with Gemini. Okay, yeah, definitely keep us posted. I think we're talking about Sammy Boy here, Magi, and talking about him having sociopathic behavior. Oh, sorry, that was JB saying that. Yes. 100%. In some sense, this is actually a really awesome read. I want to repeat what JB's saying. Is he portrays typical sociopathic behavior, which means you can always trust him to do the most self-serving actions while masking it with ethics BS. This is actually a really excellent point. And once you, like, this is actually how I quickly try to determine if somebody is like a narcissist or they're a bad actor, is I see this happening in perpetuity. And then what I do is this actually guides me on what not to do. Like, I actually use that information as, okay, cool, thank you for sharing that. Now I know exactly what not to do. Because you can rely on, like, in some sense, JB's right. You can trust them to do the wrong thing. And then you can use that knowledge almost as fact of like, oh, this is for sure the wrong thing. Let's definitely not do that. It's like a reverse hack kind of thing, if you think about it like this. Oh, Juan, thanks so much for subscribing to the YouTube channel. I deeply appreciate that. Every sub helps right now because that's going to broadcast the signal. That will drive the algorithm. Perhaps adding another link on the Discord invite. Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, let's do that. Where is that? Cool. Here's the Discord one more time, everybody. And here's the Discord one more time, everybody. Let me see if I can. And we literally we've kind of have to end this stream very soon because, wow, you guys are getting deep into it. as I need to turn this into a VOD very fast today so I can get it out before I start doing my moving stuff. Yeah, that's exactly, I think, the point, Juan, is 100% you're right, is that the information we're talking about, the knowledge we're talking about right now is not mainstream, unfortunately, and we need to make it mainstream. We need to get this out so people are aware of this, so then they can start to properly protect themselves. So if you have mechanisms to rebroadcast this, share links, this kind of stuff, this is extremely helpful. And again, it's helpful to the world. So if you have the ability, you have the time, any small amount of help helps. And I'll hopefully have the Discord, the VOD link up in the next few hours, definitely by the end of tonight. And then if you're on the Discord, you can just blast that out into any of your own private channels and stuff, or on other public channels. Sean saying, I think it's actually very serious. It says to me things like diff need to be implemented like yesterday. Yes, I 100% agree. In fact, we're going to talk with a really big, fancy VC on Wednesday, and I'm going to probably explain this very concept, and hopefully they will agree. We've been talking to them for over a year, and they definitely, I think, are deeply engaged with what we're doing. And, like, their whole partnership is going to be on this call, including the folks that founded the VC firm, which is pretty awesome. That doesn't usually happen. Someone can always use it to recreate itself, and with inventions like diff included, becomes very hard to conflate. Yeah. Gemini recently took a huge 180 on me. Okay. Good to know. Yes. Exactly, Sean, on this. Is that as long as these hallucinations or stochasticity, and with the impossibility of being able to properly assess them for these things, this is likely going to happen in 100,000 million different ways. Yep. Yes, we are very, very much behind on the envelope that is being pushed from big tech on adopting this stuff, which is crazy. And I've spoken about this quite a bit. I was actually saying I don't understand why Google is going nuts with releasing new models every month and stuff. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? And yeah, people got, I think, kind of angry at me, which tells me that whenever people get like extremely angry at me for saying stuff, especially when it's something that kind of is logical, it kind of makes me, it makes me pretty convinced I'm on the right path. And I'm the kind of person that I don't get dissuaded by the haters. I get more engaged once I see that certain people are coming out of the woodworks trying to like shut down the voice of reason. I spent the last 2 months building a pure deterministic engine, and intent log mutations in editor where the AI is a real co-editor with full undo and replay architecture alone. Took some time. Awesome. And Freddie, yeah, good to have you. I don't know that I've seen you speak up before, but I like it. I like it a lot. Oh, maybe you're the one that was mentioning this Edward, perhaps? All right. Okay. Guys, I think I just got to burn through this and end the stream now. So I've got to skip some of these final comments sort of at the end. And I apologize for that. But I got through a lot of them, which is great. And yeah. This is definitely where we want to be headed, Juan. I think that's the key thing. Freddie's saying, I've been following this for a while, but I just joined the Discord after hearing Goju's talk about collaborating members. I've only had LLMs to discuss this with at this point. I would love to discuss it. Oh, awesome. Yeah. Great to have you, Freddie. Yeah, and that's really what we're really doing with GTT is we're building an army. It's getting pretty awesome. And the Discord is where a lot of the action is happening. Okay. Oh, wait, hold on. There was something JB said. Then you have this, if the expenses on adding an ethical layer to the system is higher than one that doesn't implement it, the unhinged one would always be more attractive option. Yeah, I think it depends on the context that it's being used in, JP. I mean, I think your instincts, I think, to say it another way, I think that the unhinged one would have less friction for adoption because it would have like potentially more free range of motion. But I think that in certain environments, they would still massively prefer the ethical, more lockdown one. Think about spaces like the classified sector or security spaces. Anything that is trying to protect confidential information, I think that they would be happy to suffer consequences of a little bit more friction for an increased level of security. That's my speculation, anyway. Yeah, data center stuff is really crazy. I mean, it's getting global, guys. Global data centers. A lot of us are hearing just about the ones in the United States, like the stuff there, the Stargate, whatever nonsense. Oh, no. I'm talking about like full sovereign states at a governmental level planning on building massive infrastructure for a data center in like a third world country because they have the right geographic presence to have a data center. Like one of the things that, if you think about this for a second, one of the things that is really good for data centers is if they're run in extremely cold temperatures. Cold temperatures are ideal for data centers. Why? Because data centers are doing mass heat generation. And one of the core problems is heat dissipation. If your environment is already naturally very cold, the heat dissipation happens almost naturally, and you don't need nearly as much water, right? That's why the water's needed. The water's needed for water cooling. But if you can leverage the natural atmosphere of it being just freezing all the time, you can just open up the doors, right? I mean, not exactly, but I think you get the sense, is that cold air goes down, hot air rises. Think about ventilation systems that could be used in cold climates that have very kind of safe geographic plates under them. So no shaking and stuff, no like massive seismic activity. Has really good infrastructure for power, so the power will be uninterrupted, and has natural lines into international waters for the internet, for fiber. You satisfy that criteria, and suddenly that is a great area for data centers. And that's what I'm talking about. There are, if you think about it for a second, there are certain geographic locations that are ideal for this. And those folks are starting to work on building huge data centers. It also really helps with the carbon footprint. It just, yeah, for all the reasons. Okay, guys, almost made it the 4-hour mark. Stopping before that because we won't get booted from IG. And thanks everybody so much for joining today. I will make this into a VOD. I'm going to start working on it right now. Done by the end of the evening. And appreciate you guys being here the whole time, joining the Discord, all the stuff supporting our movement, and look forward to chatting with all of you very soon. Keep going.